We are here today to start on a new book, and we have a special guest with us to help us do that. I want to introduce to everyone Lisa Jo Davis. Hey, Lisa Jo.
Hi, Terry. Thank you for inviting me to come on today.
Of course, it's so nice of you to take time out of your day to do this for us. So our family that's here with us today, it's Auntie Jean Loriot.
Hi.
Suzanne Millard, Christina Leftwich, Mary Lou Burdick, Erica Hoppy, and Tammy Fisk. And Tammy, I do love your hair. It's a really good style for you. I like that. So welcome everybody. We are here to talk about changes. Life changes when you do is the subtitle, because that was the message I heard from Spirit when I was asking, why is nothing changing? What do we have to do to bring in change? And that was the message I heard. Life changes when you do. So just a little backstory. When I heard that message and I heard I was supposed to be writing that, and I'm like, okay, so how do I do that? And change is all about transformation. So I put the call out for people, whoever wanted to come on and share their story, share what they had been through as far as a life change and how that looked on the other side of that struggle or that challenge. How many of you have started reading the book already?
Oh,
awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So the beginning of the book is a story that the angels had inspired me to write. And it was all about that struggle, that questioning, that looking for, how do I find that? How do I find that ingredient that's going to help me to see change? And then I had 12 people that came forward, actually 11 plus myself. And we shared our story. And Lisa Jo, your story is so amazing. All about transformation, all about trust, I believe, is the theme of your story. So I'm just going to open it up and let people ask you questions or make comments. And then please share with us how you came to step up and say, I'll do that. I'll share my story.
So questions, or do you want me to share first?
Yeah, let us know how that happened for you, what that looked like to be able to share your story.
First of all, I kind of hesitated about, sharing the story, but then I was guided to do so because I felt like there was a point, there was a message to help others. Sometimes when we go through struggles, oftentimes we don't want to burden anybody else. We don't want, people to feel sorry for us or anything like that. We just, being very strong women and men, at these times, we kind of want to break through and do it all ourselves. But there's times when we need to realize we're not in the driver's seat, sometimes we ride along in that car and we're actually in the passenger seat. But during this time of my life, this happened in 2000, end of 2014, I believe, is when my experience happened. And what ended up happening was I had a lot of the bottom line was I had some internal bleeding inside. I called the ambulance and I didn't know that's what was going on. And they, on the way to take me to the hospital, they were losing me and I was really going downhill and they were trying to keep me up, and awake. And my hospital was 25 miles away. And so they ended up taking me to the nearest hospital because I couldn't make it the 25 miles. During this time, I've always been a spiritual person, but I've not really shared that kind of part of me because I've had times when I couldn't connect with the teachings of churches. I didn't feel comfortable there. And so I would often go inside of my own heart and ask for guidance. And at this time, I asked God, please, Jesus, come, my angels come, which I really didn't. I believed in angels, but I really didn't have a connection like I do now, or at least I didn't think I did. And in reality, we always have that connection. But I had called out and asked, please help me, I need help now. And often on, I would be over flooded with, some people call them vibrations, but these feelings of it was going to be okay, this warmth that was going through me. I just felt like things were going to be okay. And I had went to the hospital and they had done lots of tests and couldn't find out where, they couldn't pinpoint where the bleeding was happening in my abdominal area. And they had done CAT scans and x-rays and MRIs, and they came to the conclusion after a few days that they just had to let it bleed, because, and hopefully it would stop, because where it was located at, there was a lot of nerve endings, and they were afraid that there would be more damage if they went in and did exploratory surgery. Meanwhile, through all of this, I was laying in a room where they kind of jumped ahead of myself, but I was laying in a room and there was only myself and two doctors and a nurse, and they all were women. And I got to the point where I was really scared. I was frustrated. I was in extreme pain. And I heard in my ear, it's okay, Lisa, everything's going to be okay. And it was in a man's voice. It was definitely a man's voice. And right then I just felt like, wow, it's going to be okay. And my family had come in to see me, and, I had, semi-grown children at that point, and they, had a lot of concerns to me. And I said, don't worry, this is not how I'm going to die. Everybody's eyes got really big because, you usually don't talk about death in the hospital, when you're trying to save somebody. And it just, I just knew that this wasn't the end of things, but I just felt really hopeful. I felt like things are going to be okay, even though they don't know what's going on. And through the struggles of, I was in the hospital, I believe 5 days, and I came home, couldn't walk. I couldn't do nothing for myself. I was in a wheelchair, but, they asked me if I wanted a wheelchair at home, and I said no. And for some reason, it just affected my whole body. And I think it's because my body was just absorbing all of the blood that was being lost. My body was swelling up and I had inflammation. And when I got home, I said, just give me my computer chair. I'm going to wheel myself around with my feet. That's the only thing I can move is my feet, not my legs too well, but my feet. And my family thought I was crazy, but I'm thinking all along, as long as I stay active and stuff and don't dwell in all the pain, it kind of takes my mind away from things. And because it got really bad laying in bed and not really being able to move, and I kept thinking, I can't live my life like this. I can't live. This is not how I see myself being in 5 years or in 10 years. I cannot see myself laying in bed and being confined to bed. And every day, a few times a day, I would call upon Jesus, I would call upon God and the angels to come down. And I had heard I was a little familiar about Archangel Raphael. And so I did ask him to come in and help, heal me in different parts of my body and stuff. And slowly I started feeling better. I mean, it hurt to comb my hair. I couldn't, lift my arms really past my shoulders. And I had to get help with getting dressed. I put a limit on the bathroom. I said, I can handle my own issues there. But everything else I needed help with. And each day I did a lot of struggling, but each day I would see a minute improvement. And you can get so depressed and so like, I can't make it, I can't do anything. But sometimes you just have to go in and pull that inner strength out to go on and, to have goals to become better, because it's so easy to get depressed and brought down by everything that's happening. Like, why is this happening to me? I'm so young, and what did I do? And everything goes through your mind. But I kept having the feelings at that time, I didn't know what it was, that it was going to be okay. And eventually, I was able to go from the computer chair into a walker. And so I used the walker for a couple of months, and then I was able to actually start using the cane and being able to walk. And then eventually I could walk with a little bit of a limp. My body healed on itself. They still don't know what caused it, because I kept asking what caused it, because they surely don't want to repeat this again and have it happen to me again. But having this hindsight about everything that happened, I think and I'm like 99% sure it was a way of me coming to the crossroads. I wasn't taking care of myself. My two children had grown up with special needs. Between the two of them, they had over 30 surgeries. And so I had put myself on the back burner because, of course, my family was the most important thing to get them healthy and get them to where they needed to be so that they had, a comfortable life that they could go forward with. So there was a lot to live for. There was a lot of things that I needed to do, but I lacked the care of taking care of myself. I thought I did. I bought, makeup, I bought face products, but I really wasn't I wasn't tending to my soul, to the inner part of me, the part that was just being forgotten. And this made me realize how important it is to also water and fertilize your own garden, your own heart, your own soul, and how doing that would enable you to see things in a different light. And it really made me have a lot more of appreciation for my family, and really the little things like, wow, I can take a shower by myself, or I can go make dinner, and I'm okay. I can go for a walk. I may not last a long time, but I can do it. And each year I got stronger. And between all of that, I kept hearing that I would be able to help others and heal others as well. And I was shown, I kind of had a little vision of people laying out in front of me and me, doing hands healing on them. But I had no idea what I was doing. And I had a few friends that lived across the United States, and I would say, can you let me practice on you and let me know? And they could actually feel it. And then later, Teri and I connected we had connected a little bit before that because we were in similar groups, and then we became friends. And eventually, she showed me through the Time Heals method that she has, that kind of a structured way of doing what I was already doing. But it gave me that foundation of being able to have kind of a formulated way of doing things. And when I did that, it also opened up my other abilities. And so I was able to speak with spirit and receive messages to give to others. I've always liked oracle cards, so that kind of deepened, and I was able to pick up a lot of messages on cards without reading the book, but just for the message and the card for that person. And then I started going, okay, well, I don't have enough education behind me, but that kind of came, Spirit told me I didn't need it, but I still looked at that from other people. But the bottom line is, I believe that having this experience, this near-death experience, and then I had another one in 2018, I believe. I had another near-death experience, and that was, I had an intestine that was about to burst open, and I was like, if they hadn't wheeled me into the emergency when they did, into the operating room, I would have died. I mean, that was just flat out, that's what that would have happened. And I've been told that many times. And I was laying on the floor in the hospital, ringing the bell, going, I need somebody now. And the doctor comes in and she says, this was the second time. And she's like, we found what's wrong with you. You have scar tissue around your intestines and it's cutting off all the blood and everything. You got to rush you in right now. My husband had just left. I know this is kind of not in the book, but Spirit had a way of getting my husband to come back, which was another 25 miles. And he came to me because I said, please let him be here before I go in, because I didn't know whether I was going to come out alive or not. And he was there just as they were wheeling me out. He had just walked in. And so, Spirit is there and the angels are there for us. And all we have to do is ask them for their help. They just sit there and they're like, okay, we're here, but we can't really interfere with you until you actually ask us, for help. God can send them, and if he feels like there is that intervention that needs to happen, or God can send his troop, his spiritual team to assist you. But if you don't have to have a near-death experience or get really ill or anything like that to have them in your life. You can just ask them, please be with me. And, you can work with one at a time and call them in and feel their energy and get to know how their energy is, because each of them are different. But having said that, I'm happy that near-death experience happened, if you can believe that. So it really made me look at life a lot different. And now I'm at a spot where I can help other people with my life experiences that I've had. And I love it. I never thought that I would be a healer, or a metaphysical healer, a heart healer, or, someone who talked to angels and received, information for others. I never, ever thought that I would do that. And here I am sitting in front of you sharing my story. Questions?
And thank you so much for doing that, Lisa Jo. And, one thing that we had talked about before we actually delved into the book was, that book was written how many years ago, like several years ago. And we were wondering who people are now with their life. And what you just shared tells us how you are doing now, how your faith is so much stronger, and you've come to that realization of what's important. And I love that. I love that part of what you shared. I was just looking. Okay, 2016. So 5 years ago, this book was written. And now we see Lisa Jo stronger, more beautiful in her energy, and out there helping others through her story and through what came about as her story. So yes, anybody, if you want to unmute and just speak and ask or whatever you want to do. Christina.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you very much for sharing your experience and additional experiences. I know myself, I've had, a lot of life under my belt, and, sometimes hearing someone else's story can provide that little hope and inspiration. But thank you for being vulnerable, for us to learn from you, and being one of those wise women, and wise people that perhaps we can take a spark of what you've given us to apply it to our own lives. So thank you. But my question, I want to know if you have gone back to Burley Falls and climbed, made that, or put your feet in the water?
Oh my God. Yes, I have been back to Bernie Falls, but I was able to actually make it down to the bottom of the falls, but I wasn't able to walk on the boulders because they were so uneven. And I just have, since I have fallen, I just have a really bad balance when I get on rocks. And so it's like, bam, there's a rock, I'm falling. And so my husband really teases me a lot about saying he needs to have a helmet on me and elbow pads and knee pads. But no, I did not make it to put my toes in the water, but I did make it all the way to twice. We've been there since. And so I did make it all the way to the bottom, which is quite the hike, and it really has a lot of elevation to it. But it was just a wonderful experience to have the mist all over you, because it's very cleansing. Just the pounding sound of Bernie Falls is just amazing. So if you ever have the chance to visit Bernie Falls in California, I would highly recommend it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I think you've just taught another lesson in how sometimes when life evolves in front of us, we have to take the very best of what is available, even if that does not meet our own expectations of what we thought it might look like. And I'm glad that you found that joy and met life right where it was willing to meet you, and find joy in that. So thank you again for that wisdom.
Thank you for your question. I appreciate that. And that gave me goosebumps. So thank you.
Beautiful. Auntie Jean.
She's like this. She's like, I got a question.
No, it's not so much a question as I've been wanting to tell you this. I had to hold myself back. Your story has had such an influence on me. Most of these ladies here, they're my family, and they know I've been going through kind of a bad time lately. And a lot of that was initiated by my health, and I had gotten to the point where I was like, well, okay, I'm just old and it's just going to be downhill from now. And, I might as well just accept it. And you gave me the idea, or well, actually, you enforced that idea to me. I was relying on the angels, and I was relying on God, and I was relying, but you have to do it yourself. You have to fight back yourself. You can't just say, please make me well. You have to take your life into your own hands and say, no, I'm going to do it myself. That kind of thing. And so it was like, to me, God sends me messages whenever I need them. And I have been going in and out of this place lately. And when I opened the book and started reading your story, I realized once again, he'd given me an answer to something I was struggling with. So I just wanted you to know how important your story is to us. And thank you so much for it. And it's really helped me a lot. Okay? Well,
You're welcome. And so, Jean, I was just giving a vision of you, and I see you as like, and on all of you, anyone who has children can relate to this. I see you in the hall, and you're reaching for that light switch, and you switched it on, and you're like, I did it, And so everybody that's has had a child, it's like watching them do everything for the first time. And so when you were telling me the story, they showed me that you were reaching up for, as a little girl, that you were reaching up for that light switch, and you turned it on, and you're like, I can do it myself. And so, but you have a very valid point. We're our own cheerleader sometimes. some of us are really lucky in that we have big families or, you know, lots of support. Some of us only have our immediate family. And then some of us only have, I shouldn't say only, we have friends that are our family. And so it's a little bit of a burden, I think, sometimes when we put too much on our friends and our family. But when we really need to share that, it's good to be able to share that with people who have like minds, who will accept that. And I'm really glad that you, you know, kind of like pulled up your big girl panties and like, I'm gonna do this. And so I do that often. Sometimes I start welling and feeling sorry for myself. And just recently, you know, for those who don't know, I moved here to Texas from California. I've been here maybe 6, maybe 7 weeks now. And we were looking for a house and had come to Texas and left. And well, my husband and I came to Texas. My son was in Austin, and we stayed with him, looked at some houses, and we went back, made, you know, 3 different offers, and 2 of them didn't get accepted. But I had come back to Texas, you know, stayed with my son, and I had fallen in the bathtub, and it was the day before I was supposed to leave, and we hadn't found the house yet or made that next, you know, offer. And before I left California, I lit a candle and I put down my wishes is we're going to find a house or bust. And so I burned the candle, burned my wishes, came, did my affirmations, went there, flew out there. And the day before I was supposed to come back, we were unsuccessful with the homes and everything, finding one that was right for us in our price range. And I fell. I fell. I was like, okay, God, before I fell, I was like, okay, I'm just going to give it to God. The rest of it, you know, I'm just going to enjoy myself with my son and, you know, I'll worry about the house. I just got to let go. And as I'm washing the bottom of my last foot, you know, I only have 2, but I went boom, and landed on my hip, my tailbone, and just my leg was all twisted and contorted. And here I am, butt naked, in my son's shower room and his 2 roommates. And I'm like, how am I going to do this without embarrassing myself and everybody that lives in this home? And I was, you know, okay, angels, I need your help. And I pulled myself out and got dressed and, you know, crawled to the couch where my cell phone was, because my son works from home. And I texted my son, can you help me? I've fallen. And anyway, like we ended up in emergency. They took all kinds of x-rays, and I had a sprained knee and a leg, and I had pulled some muscles, but basically everything from my hip down was sore. You know, nothing was torn, nothing was broken. I was very, very lucky. And, you know, then my worry is, how am I going to get home? And so everything kept piling up on me, like I was afraid of what was going to happen on airplane. Well, if I got to go to the bathroom, I'm going to hobble, you know. But long story short, you know, I had a lot of help from the airlines. I let them know my situation, and I left a week later. But meanwhile, during that week I was staying there, I found my house. And I wasn't able to go out and look at it personally, but my realtor, which we trusted really well, was able to do a video thing for me, and we were able to see the house and make an offer. And, you know, I went home and it's like, God, if this is our house, let it be. And it was accepted. So you just never know what's going to happen, but you really need to be your own cheerleader and really need to pull yourself up and carry yourself, because like you said, it doesn't, you can do all the right things, but sometimes you still hit the wall and you're like, I've done all the things. I've called my spiritual team. I have friends and family that helps, but if you're not willing to put in some of that effort for your own healing, then it happens very slowly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa Jo, for that. Mary Lou.
Lisa Joe, thank you so much for being here with our beautiful Soul Food Book Club. And Teri, thank you for writing this book and giving us opportunity to share. You know, on one of the pages in the introduction, on page 4, Teri, you wrote, I want to stress, one thing I want to stress is that we are not sharing our stories to receive pity or to portray any kind of victimhood. Our pure intention is to shine the light of victory out to the world. And, you know, and I think that's commendable, you know, that all the times that we have all gone through painful or negative experiences, that we're able to come through it. And there's a little element of what Jean said, you know, of doing it ourselves, but there's always that element of the divine intervention that comes to us when we seek it. You know, I think that's a lesson that I learned in my lifetime, is that I'm pretty independent and I like being independent, but I went through a time in my life when I learned it's okay to be interdependent, independent, and dependent. That there's 3 times that, you know, that circle keeps happening for me in my own life, you know, where, you know, I'm mostly proud of myself when I'm independent, but sometimes that's when I get in the way of myself. And I might trip and fall. Usually I do, you know, in the times when I really glow and feel healthy is when I'm interdependent and I recognize that there's others in this world that can help me. And all I have to do is ask. And that there's, you know, my God and my Lord and my angels, that if I ask them, I'm going to get the best result if I go to them first. But isn't it a great, wonderful journey to know that, you know, we can't turn lemonade. Let's see, how does that go? The lemons into lemonade, you know, but first we have to look at the lemon and we have to smell it and experience it, you know, and then we can go to the next stage. You know, so thank you. I'm loving the book already, just with the first chapter. And Lisa Joe, I guess we don't Google each other on Facebook, but I typed your name in to get, you know, to become friends with you. And I saw that you had this really nice recipe of making watermelon sherbet. So I'm going to give it a try. It looks good.
You're
Thank
right,
you.
though. It's you know, spirit is there to help us and stuff, but I think we have to be the one that's walking the path, and they're there to help it and assist us. But overall, we have free will, and even when we go off our path, spirit will show us, you know, our path, or, you know, guide us eventually back on there. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
I'll just, while somebody's thinking, I'll just add on that I have, you know, in my past, I was a hospice volunteer in our town here. And one of the training sessions that I went to was a doctor. I think I mentioned it to you before, Teri, you know, in some of our talking, that I met this doctor who had a near-death experience. Is that what they still call it? Near-death experience? And, you know, I don't know about my terminology, you know, but the message that he left with me that I loved and I still try to carry with me is that things happen to us in the process of our life experience. And we're like in a cylindrical, cyclical, I don't know, a circle formation. And that, you know, we might find ourselves with different people or in a different place, in, you know, physical place, you know, like moving from California to Texas, you know, or me moving from Richmond, Massachusetts to Cheshire, Massachusetts. But that life experience is there to teach us. You know, that and you might find yourself in that same sense learning. There's a lesson for me to learn. And if we didn't learn it, then we can move wherever we want. We can travel wherever we want. But we're always going to go back to that same life lesson,
Yes.
and that was his great message that I really learned from that, and I pray, all the time when I find myself in a negative, dark place, that help me to learn what it is I need to learn so that I don't have to come back here again. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it really does, because with my clients and stuff, and I tell a lot of my clients, if you are seeing things happen over and over, you're like, I've been here, done that. If you've not learned your lesson from that, it's like being on a merry-go-round. You're in the center and everything is going around you, and you jump on and then you jump off. And it's like, it's just going to be repeating. It may be a couple years, but if you've not learned your lesson, and learning your lesson can be acknowledging your involvement in it, forgiving the other person, forgiving yourself, and actually learning a lesson and moving on. Like, okay, I learned that lesson, put it behind me, and let's move on. But if that same type of lesson is coming back to you, then you really need to, kind of pick it apart. Getting healthy and getting and on the spiritual side and getting healthy, it's not always a fun thing to do, because you really, at least with me, and I'm sure Teri can say things, we have to go through, just like anybody else, our own dark night of the soul, where, things that we've felt bad about, or that has happened bad to us, or we feel like maybe we've wronged somebody else, or maybe we didn't treat somebody as nice as we could have. All of that comes back to you. And, it can make you lose sleep. It can make you doubt yourself. And even pulling in the angels and God and Jesus to help you is there, but you have to really do the work yourself. You really have to go through there. You can get a spiritual teacher to help you, sort certain things out. But the bottom line is the healing takes place within you. You have to decide what needs to be healed, and ask, and sometimes things are so painful that it's too hard to do. And so sometimes you just need to ask Spirit to help you release it, or cut the cord, and help you release, send love to both parties, because it's just too painful, and that's how you move forward.
Well,
If you
welcome
want-
to Texas. Sorry,
Okay.
Charlie. I just wanted to tell her welcome to Texas. I live in Texas too.
I'm not a damn tuna, so don't call me sorry, Charlie.
You know me. It's going to be on my tombstone, so let it go.
So we have chicken of the sea, Charlie.
Okay. So anyway, it really resonated with me. And the one line where it says, you wouldn't slow down after your heart attack, so we had to make you slow down and change your life.
Yeah.
So that was really heartfelt and resonated, because I had a near-death experience, and I actually went up there and they sent me back. So it was, it was rather profound or whatever. I don't know if that's the right word, but that really resonated with me, because a lot of times we get messages and we don't see them, or they're speaking to us and we don't hear them. We have all these 5 senses or whatever, and they send messages every which way but loose, and they could be right smack in front of you and you don't see them. And you don't wake up when you get that call to wake up. So yeah, it'll be 7 years for me since that happened. And it was, you know, it was life changing for me. And the whole spiritual aspect just happened within the last year. I didn't know about angels. I mean, I prayed and everything, and stuff like that. But I know now. I know they're there, and they were always there. God, they saved my life. God knows how many times. So, but anyway, that part of the book really resonated, with me. That So.
It's true what you're saying, though, that I feel like you're given, if you're not already a spiritual person, you are given signs. And it's just like, I think, I'd get tired and, I'd have my family go, "Are you okay?" I'm fine. I have things to do. I need to get them done. Just don't bother me right now. I concentrate on you. But, and then you have the people that are like, "Okay, I need signs and I, need help." And, the signs are there. They're right in front of you, but you don't open up the eyes, don't open up the ears. And sometimes the signs can come to us in the forms of other people's conversations. You overhear a conversation. It can come in the form of a song, something that you read, something that is just like all of a sudden it's in your mind and you're like, okay, where did that come from? And pennies and feathers. And so sometimes they do send us signs, but sometimes we are like, if it's not in our face and we don't recognize it as, a sign that says, here's your sign, here's what you're asking for. If it's not in front of us, we don't look. And so it's good that you, after your experience, that you have come to realize that, it is, the help is there. We just need to ask. And I commend you on, seeking that side of you from your near-death experience. And I hope that you can share your experience with others so that perhaps in the future it will help them as well. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And it seems like it was maybe around the same time that both of you went through that, about 7 years ago.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Synchronicity.
High five.
There you go, high fives.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I want to throw in something too. So I think, first of all, I love the story. It's very inspirational and it resonates with me. You saying you have to do your part. I think some people it takes longer than others. Like personally me, my first nudge, I would call it nudge, I got in the year 2000. I was doing a Bible study and we were talking about this book, Angels Speak. And it was really, really interesting. And this lady wrote it down on a yellow index card or orange index card, Angels Speak. I was like, yeah, I put it away. Every few years, I ran into that index card, Angels Speak. I think those were all nudges. And trust me, it took me till last year, so 21 years, to find, like-minded people and learn more and study more. But I think the angels are still there, giving me a big, big kick into the butt, because now for 6 months, I've been suffering with vertigo, actually 7 months. My life is at a complete standstill right now. And I did stuff like I learned to do Reiki now. I meditate now. I do way more self-care, which I did not do before. I took care of my kids in the meantime and everything. And I was ready to go full steam ahead with too many things. And I had to stop everything, like, all the classes here on Angel Wings, book club, because the vertigo is really bad, especially with looking at computer screens and reading. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still hopefully in the process of healing, but I think it's the angels saying, stop everything and find what you have to do now. And that's what I'm actually right now in the process of doing. So it's encouraging to read the stories. All the stories in the book give me hope to say, it's me. I got to work through this, and I'm right in it right now. So thank you for writing that and all the stories. I love them. And we'll see where I end up, right? When I come out on the other side, I'll let you all know.
Yeah, I can see you writing your story, Suzanne.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, I understand that. If somebody would say, "Oh, you're going to write, a chapter or something," I would have went, "Yeah, right."
Yeah.
In whose dream? Because it's not in my dream. But what I will say is, when you begin to take on other, like learn different modalities, it's very important to, when you learn that modality, to allow it to resonate within you, marinate within your soul and within your body before you jump into something else. Because each modality has unique energy, and you need to work with it a little bit before you move on to another one. And I'm speaking of experience and stuff, because I felt like I didn't have enough behind me, like a degree or certificates, and then no one would take me. I had decided that this is where I needed to go. And I keep a pad and paper by my bed, and I write a lot. Like, if in the middle of the night I would, it's not so much anymore, but for the last 6 years, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would hear the word dictate, and so then I would sit there at night, writing with no light, and just writing whatever spirit had to tell me. And I'm like, okay, I can go back to sleep. And then the next morning I'd wake up. But one of the things is, it's great that you're learning, different modalities. And I would, encourage you to continue learning. But what I'm hearing for you is that you need to embrace one modality at a time and get really good at that modality before you move on to another one. You have a lot of energy that's coming through, and I'm having, okay, so this is how I work. When spirit tells me to tell somebody something, I tell them. And so what I'm hearing is you're doing a lot of floating out of your body at night. And so it would be very good for you to ground yourself into the earth before you go to sleep at night, because you're having a lot of out of your body experience. So they're showing me you and your spirit is like halfway in and halfway out, and that's causing some of your vertigo. But when you start bringing the two together, it's going to start getting better for you.
That's awesome. Last outing with the dogs, I'm gonna go barefoot now at 11 at night. I walk through the grass. Perfect. Thank you.
Well, another way is just imagining, your roots growing out the bottom of your feet. If you're in bed, you don't have to run out and do this, but just imagine the roots growing in the bottom of your feet down through all the layers of the earth into, the center of Gaia, and just kind of absorb that, and then, do your prayers and everything else that you do regularly after that. But I'm hearing that that's, will help you.
Thank you. And you're right with the one modality, because it took me a long time to do Reiki, and I was going to do time heals, but then I said to Teri, I don't think I'm ready to do time heals. I want to just focus on Reiki. That's the only modality I really do, and I will continue doing that for a while.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to do the time heals. It's a different, because I did the Reiki too after I did the time heals, but I did it real close to the time hills, and so there was a lot of different it's different energy, I'll just be blunt, it's just different types of energy with different modalities. But when you're ready, you'll know, and then Teri's the one to teach you. So follow along that. If you feel like you kind of need to step back and wait, you got what I just told you was a confirmation of something you've already received. So I want to commend you on that, for listening to your message, whether you knew you were supposed to listen to that or not, but following your own guidance, because that is self-care, not putting too much on yourself.
Beautiful. And yes, I say that all the time too, Lisa Joe. When you learn a modality, you need the time to really let it integrate into you and your energy. And then, all the energy modalities work together.
Yeah.
So, but take the time to really get to know them before you jump into another one, because then there might be some confusion there. So yeah, absolutely. When you're ready, you will know, just like what Lisa just said. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I want to see if anybody else wants to share, because I'm in a hotel room that I need to be out of at noon here where I'm at. So I think Erica has something. Did I see your hand raised?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your story. It helps, to know that we're not alone. So many things happen in life, and there's so many struggles that so many of us happen to us. And, just showing us how you can get through and sharing it is very, very inspirational. And I really enjoyed hearing about your spiritual growth and, all the wonderful things that you've been doing, and, how you're helping the world. Thank you so much. And thank you, Teri, for writing the book.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I want to share that after the book was published, I kept hearing there was supposed to be another one, a Changes 2. So I'm really, this is inspiring me to look at that again and to ask the angels if that's something that is supposed to come forth. And I can see Sue right here.
Yeah,
I heard that very clearly. And from just looking at all of you here and hearing you sharing from yourselves, I think there's definitely going to be a Changes 2. And I can see some of your stories in there. So I love that. And Mary Lou, you were holding up something. Did you want to share what that is? Oh, you're muted.
I saw in your story, Lisa Joe, that you interceded with Raphael, Angel Raphael. And I have this beautiful prayer. If we have a minute, I'll share it with everybody if you'd like. And we could all embrace it, have a conversation with this beautiful angel right now. And it's a prayer to seek healing. So wherever we are right now, today, we pray to you and with you, Saint Raphael, angel, one of the glorious 7 archangels who stands as servants before the throne of our God, who lives and reigns forever. Angel of health and happiness and travel. Christina, travel. The Lord has filled your hand with balm from heaven to soothe and cure our pain. Because you are the medicine of God, we pray you heal the infirmaries of our soul and the ills that afflict our bodies. We pray for the gift of purity to remind us we are temples of the Holy Spirit. Heal and soothe us and guide our steps. Give us perseverance, strength, good health as we journey through this life. Amen.
Wow.
Amen, Lord.
And
It's a beautiful prayer, isn't it?
And it just started thundering here.
Oh, he's saying it's affirmation from Gabrielle.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
That was housekeeping at the door trying to kick me out of here. That's my sign. I just want to say, Lisa Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. What a gift you are to the world. And I certainly appreciate having you in my life all these years. I just want you to take a minute and just share with people how they can find you if they want to reach out and find out more about Lisa Joe Davis.
Sure. I'll make it really quick because I know you have to leave. healinglightwithlisajoe.com. And I'm also on Facebook, Healing Light with Lisa Joe. I have a couple videos on YouTube, so I'm pretty easy to find if you need to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just
Thank you.
love you, love your energy. I always have. And Lisa Jo has another group on Facebook called Hosting the Archangels. So please check that out because I have done it many times and just love the experience. So check out Lisa Jo. For those of you who are finding us for the first time, I want to welcome Pat Moss, Janet Byron, and Carrie Cleary to the meeting. For those of you who are just finding us, we are on weekly. This is Soul Food Book Club, and this is the current book that we are all delving into. Changes, life changes when you do. And Lisa Jo was the first chapter in this book, sharing her story. Next week, Karen Palmer will join with us. I know all of our books are disappearing. Isn't that funny? Next week, Karen Palmer will join with us to share about her story that's in the book. So we hope that you can join in with us. And thank you so much for being here today. And everybody on Zoom, I love you, my beautiful family. Thank you for being here. Such a blessing. And yes, I can see you all in changes too. So we end our shows with a word that means the spirit in me sees, acknowledges, and loves that very same spirit in you. We all say,
Namaste,
Namaste, y'all.
y'all.
love you.
Have a great
Bye,
day,
everybody.
everybody.